Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day. So last time we met, I introduced Lunkhead Bob to you and kind of walked through how I created him and all that stuff. And I've been working on him some more, but I had this funny idea. You know these weird little toys that are super rigid and they don't do anything? Well, I had a Stormtrooper of one of these, and I made a little Lunkhead Bob-esque figure. So let me show you how I did that. All right, here is that Stormtrooper toy. And again, these toys are a little weird to me because they're so rigid, but they do make great project toys. So if you find one, grab them. Before we hack them up, let's go ahead and get some safety goggles on because as you cut this, it will shoot shards of plastic right into your eyeball. Trust me, I've been there, done that. I am cutting all the limbs off because I'm going to re-sculpt and reshape them in the shape of Lunkhead Bob. These feet were way too small proportionally, so I'm going to cut those off. And I ended up using some 3D printed Nike tennis shoes that kind of fit a little bit better. This head, I hacked on the head. I boiled it in hot water. I could not get that thing off. Finally, I kind of peeled it back, and there was like a little rubber connecting point, and so I went ahead and got my snips out and was able to cut the head off. I did mess up the neck a little bit, but I'm going to sculpt that out anyways. The back, the posture is really bizarre. He's kind of sitting too straight up, so I need to hunch that over just a little bit for Lunkhead Bob. So I'm going to use my heat gun. Be careful with these because they do get really hot too, and the plastic melts really fast. But I was able to crunch it just enough to fold him over so his posture is a little bit more hunched, like my Lunkhead Bob character. And I'm just kind of holding this pose out, and that looks really good. Now, because these legs have such large gaps, I am going to use a little bit of armature wire, and I'm just kind of gluing it in place there for the time being. And then I snip that off, and then I just filled the whole thing with hot glue just to, again, help hold in place, because I'm going to use some Magic Sculpt to hold this all together in the end. Here's those shoes I was talking about. I just printed those on my 3D printer, my Bamboo. I got the wire there, and then I'm just going to kind of bend that. And again, that's going to give me my nice little pose there. This is great. This is working out really nice. So for the hands, I'm going to use some 3D printed Lunkhead Bob hands. And I just like the size and the proportion of them. But these were really hard to get off. I boiled them, but they just wouldn't come off. I'm using my pipe cutters here to cut a little piece. I'm going to explain what I'm doing with the arm here a little bit later, but I'm trying to build out the extension of the arm. And in order to do that, I'm going to use some Magic Sculpt. It's a 2-part epoxy. And I am going to use that to kind of fill in different parts and extend the arms. So here I'm working on the knees, just kind of sculpting out and filling in those gaps. And you can see that's looking pretty good. I got to fill in the other knee now. So I'll do the same thing. I'll just get a round clump, kind of fill that in. I'm wrapping it around the armature wire. So when this dries, everything's going to be pretty solid. I did roll a little snake to kind of fill in all the gaps. And then I'm going to carefully blend that in flush with the existing plastic components. While that's drying, I'm going to take this little hat from Lunkhead Bob, sand that down, and I was like, I'm going to roll the dice here and cut this head off. I wasn't sure if this was going to work, and this was a little bit risky, but in the end, I'm glad I did it because I think this is going to look really cool. So I used a little bit more Magic Sculpt to kind of connect that black band, make it a little bit thicker because I dremeled most of it off. And I'm just kind of attaching the hat to that. And yeah, I'm really glad I did that. Now for the arms, to extend them out, I've got these action figure arms that I used on a project maybe 3 years ago. And so I have the original Star Wars arm, and then I'm gluing it onto the action figure arm that was cut off. And we'll let those dry. But I'm having trouble because everything's falling over, so I need to get some magnets in the feet and put it onto a base. Now, I had this great idea. I was like, I can use some double stick tape, put it on the popsicle stick so it won't sink all the way down into the hole. And it kind of worked. The glue dried really fast, so I think that's really all I have to do. I don't know if that was super successful or not, but I've got the magnets in the feet. And let me show you on a Lunkhead Bob, I did the same thing. I've got magnets in the feet, and then I've got this 3D printed base. and it's kind of hollow on the backside. And I'm just going to take a magnet, an additional magnet, and then click that on there. And I don't even have to glue anything right now. And then I'll grab a second magnet, click it on the second foot, and that will help hold everything in place. That way I can kind of sculpt without everything falling over, and it will kind of help hold everything together for me. All right, so I'm doing a little arm burrito here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sculpt out the shape of the armor of the Stormtrooper. And in order to get that little line, I just took a popsicle stick and I ran it across the edge of the plastic, and I just ran it straight up, hoping that it would give me a pretty smooth transition. And then I kind of smoothed out the rest of it, used a little piece of wood to make those little negative spaces there. Then I set it down and leaned on it and crushed it and have to redo the whole thing. Oh well, that's just part of it. On a few projects back, I bought this epoxy resin, and it's just super sticky and I don't like it, but it will act as a good base. And so I'm going to kind of wrap this on, let this dry. While that's drying, I went out and I primed the hat, and I'm using a filler primer, so that's looking really good. And now that that arm was dry, I'm making another little arm burrito here. And really, again, all I'm trying to do is build out the Stormtrooper armor. Kind of slice that down. I'll pull out the excess stuff, and that kind of gives me a nice wrap. Now, once I've got this kind of where I want it, I need to attach it to the Stormtrooper and then blend that into the plastic as well. So this is where it starts getting a little complicated, and the process of this just became a slow burn. I would do a little bit of sculpting, and then I have to sit and let it dry. Otherwise, parts move and things fall off. So while that's drying, I thought, I want to use this hand. I was originally going to use a skateboard. He'd be holding a skateboard, but I thought the blaster just felt so much more Star Wars. And so in order to make this hand work, I had to cut the thumb off. And to be honest, I got kind of lucky here because I cut that thumb off and I thought if I glue it this way, that looks pretty nice. And really with not a lot of effort, I just did a little bit of sanding, put some glue on there, put the thumb on, and I'm going to take some 2-part epoxy and fill those little cracks a little bit later, but this actually worked really, really well for me. So now we'll go back to the arm. This part's dry, but I need the arm because it's going to be holding the blaster up against his shoulder. So I needed the arm to flex and fold a little bit more. So I dremeled that out. Again, we'll do another little arm burrito here, and I'll put that on. And yeah, you can see this is working really nice. Now, I was fortunate because the action figure arms had really nice flexible elbows. So I'm able to get that really nice flex all the way up to the shoulder. And then I thought, you know what, I probably can just fill this in because the Stormtroopers do have that little black kind of ribbed under armor. So I went ahead and sculpted that out, and I'm really liking how this is coming together. I went ahead and I did a couple of the ribbed armor on the legs, and everything's dry. It's looking pretty good. So I thought, well, I'll do a little bit of sanding on this, but I need to prime it because I cannot really see where I'm having issues. And as soon as I primed it, I was like, oh boy, yikes, that is really bad. There's just bad sculpture all over the place here. So I was not happy with this at all. So I went ahead and spent a good amount of time kind of recarving with X-Acto knives and sanding and got it to a good spot. I primed it and painted it white. And while it's drying, I'm going to go ahead and paint out this black band here on the Stormtrooper head. This will be nice when I put the hat on. It'll help kind of blend everything together. Now in the hat, I thought it'd be fun to have some Stormtrooper elements of black and white, but I didn't think the whole hat being black would be that great. So I painted the button black and then the little snapback black, and I think that adds a nice little touch, but it's not over the top. Now for the rest of the body, I am going to paint all of these little elements black, the Under Armour pieces here. It's pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to film everything here, but you can see the neck, the little knees, the elbows. I got to still paint that one. The shoes, those look great. I need to do another coat on that. On the glove, I did paint that black, and I'll paint the other one black, and I sculpted a little piece there, and I'll paint that white, and we'll call it done. All right, I think he turned out really cool. I really love the posturing of him, and even if you didn't know who Lunkhead Bob was, I think you'd still find him pretty cool as a stormtrooper, just kind of how he's posed. So yeah, let's do some turnaround shots of this thing, and as always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd. Have a great one.